Everyone thought their bond was adorable. The protective older co-star and the rising teen superstar. The father-daughter dynamic. The cute interview moments. The side hugs on red carpets. The emotional awards show speeches. Hollywood sold that image hard. Netflix promoted it even harder. But Radar claims the world may have completely missed what was happening right in front of their eyes. And some of the subtle signs were hiding in plain sight. Because when you look back at those early interviews now, especially with what's being whispered today, those innocent smiles don't feel the same anymore. And some fans online are saying, maybe this wasn't as wholesome as they once believed. Maybe those clips weren't just sweet moments. Maybe they were tiny pieces of a much bigger story, one nobody recognized until now. But that's just the surface. And this is where the protective dad image begins to look different. David Harbour didn't just speak like a mentor. He leaned into that father figure role every single chance he got. Interview after interview, he proudly talked about guiding Millie Bobby Brown, protecting her, shaping her as an artist. In that 2017 People interview, he literally said he hoped she would bring him her Oscars one day. Like a daughter visiting a proud old father in a nursing home. It sounded wholesome. It sounded sweet. The public loved it. But now, with Radar's claims floating around, some fans are going back to those interviews and asking a different question. Was this really just a natural bond? Or was this paternal image the perfect shield? A PR-friendly storyline that made David look like the safe, older figure in the room, so no one would even think to question what was happening behind that polished, press-friendly curtain. Because certain viewers online are saying, this wasn't just mentorship energy. This was branding, framing, prepackaged dynamic. The industry loves these archetypes, and this one worked. Until now, Radar pointed out something important. Netflix isn't casual with media. They are strategic, controlled, calculated, especially when minors are involved. They don't let children walk into high-pressure press tours with no coaching. The platform is known for molding narratives, shaping sound bites, rehearsing angles, and making sure every moment fits the brand image. And for Stranger Things, the brand image was simple. The cast wasn't just a team, they were a family. That warm, wholesome, almost sitcom-like energy became part of the marketing. So when Millie smiled and Harbour joked, it felt like genuine bonding. But insiders say Netflix knows exactly how to manufacture that feeling for cameras. Because if the world believes everyone is one big loving family backstage, nobody digs deeper. Nobody questions the dynamic. Nobody looks for tension or discomfort. Which means those smiling interviews may not have been as natural as fans once believed. Online fans started going back through old promo clips, and some of them swear they noticed something subtle shifting over time. They point to red carpets, behind-the-scenes footage, panel interviews, little moments where Millie's body language suddenly felt different around Harbour. Not dramatic, not loud, just small micro-moments, a slight lean away, a stiff shoulder, a quick glance down instead of eye contact. TikTok editors slowed some of these clips down frame by frame, comparing early season interviews to later ones. And the comment sections under those edits became their own conspiracy hub. Online fans speculate that the chemistry went from playful to distant, like Millie slowly drew an invisible line between them. Nobody's saying this is proof of anything. It's all interpretation. But to the fans digging through these breadcrumbs, those subtle shifts didn't feel random. They felt like a sign of something changing that the cameras didn't explain out loud. And then there's Harbour's newer interview with Esquire Spain, where he still describes himself as the paternal presence of the cast. Even in 2024, with Millie now a full-grown woman, married, running her own beauty brand, and stepping into her adult era, Harbour still used that exact same dad of the group language. He talked about watching them grow up. He talked about wanting to see Gatton play King Lear at 70. He talked like the parental figure never switched off. And to some fans that hits differently now. Because Millie isn't the 12-year-old from season 1 anymore. She's a 20-year-old adult with her own identity, her own power, her own marriage. So when Harbour doubles down on that father role today, some people say it doesn't age well anymore. Not with everything being whispered online. Not with the new context Radar is suggesting. Not when the entire dynamic is being re-examined. And if this dad role didn't fully belong to him anymore, then what was it really covering for? Millie isn't the kid on the bicycle anymore. She's a full industry force now. Married, running her own company, producing projects instead of just acting in them. When she walks into press now, she doesn't giggle or shrink or wait for older co-stars to speak first. Her tone is sharper, more assertive, more controlled. She answers directly. She owns the room. And because of that shift, some people online are asking whether she quietly stepped out of that mentored little girl storyline on purpose, not because she hates anyone, but because that dynamic simply didn't serve her anymore. When you become your own power center, you don't need a paternal shield attached to you. You don't need someone speaking for your future or defining your artistic path in interviews. So fans on social media speculate that maybe the distance wasn't random. Maybe Millie was just choosing to stand in her own light, without leaning on that old dynamic that once felt comforting, but eventually became limiting. And this is where Radar's wording changes the entire tone of this story. Because Radar didn't just say the public missed details, they said people missed signs. They phrased it like there were little red flags hiding inside those viral, aw-so-cute interviews. Signs that only make sense now in hindsight. Radar claims insiders looked back and realized some moments weren't harmless, that there were subtle hints audiences never questioned. Radar claims some sources felt those interactions might have been packaged differently than they appeared. Nothing is confirmed. Nothing is proven. But the suggestion alone is enough to make people uncomfortable. Because if the public believed the father figure vibe without ever questioning it, then how many tiny moments did everyone just laugh through without thinking twice? Radar even writes that these signs weren't invisible. They were simply dismissed as adorable. And this is the part that fans are now saying changes how they see those old red carpet clips forever. Hollywood loves packaging a good father-daughter storyline. It's safe. It's marketable. It makes the audience feel like they're watching a family instead of a business machine. But how much of that is real? And how much is written? How much is genuine connection? And how much is carefully shaped for cameras, magazine spreads, and streaming promo circuits? Radar isn't claiming answers. They're just pointing at old moments with new context and asking the world to look again. So now the question becomes yours. When you look back at those old interviews, those panels, those hugs, do you still see a sweet dynamic? Or do you see a portrayal crafted for public comfort? Comment your thoughts, because sometimes the real story isn't what happened. It's what everyone missed while the cameras were rolling. ChatGPT can make mistakes.